And a good Tuesday afternoon to you. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com. It's representing 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of exit 7 on Interstate 89. This is our next weather system that's going to be moving in. You can see it's a 500 millibar heights here. You can see the little dip here. This is a trough of lower pressure, a shortwave trough that most of that jet stream energy is going to be working across to our north through Quebec, but it will drag a bit of a cold front. And there's a bit of gusty winds here. We will have gradient winds tomorrow, but they will be below any kind of impacts for utilities, below thresholds, maybe some gusts of around 35 miles per hour. We have a little bit of a trough as we looking at this, but in general, a very zonal west to east flow, and that's going to continue to produce milder Pacific air that's going to move on in. So we're generally looking at some fairly good project weather this afternoon, to be followed by flurries far northern areas during the afternoon on Wednesday. It'll also include those blustery westerly winds. You can see that system tracking to the north of us in the gray precipitation. And thickness lines illustrate the fact that it's warmer air up to the south and colder air to the north, and this is going to be pushing on in. So looking at that. Now, what we're looking at is those westerly winds to really bring no impacts. Just some minor wet snow showers arriving early on Thursday. Some good but brief project weather works on into the region on Friday. This is Thursday's system moving on by. Really no great shakes. And then a little bit blustery behind that system, but then good project weather builds in with a ridge of higher pressure. And then that lasts into the first part of Saturday before the next weather system moves on in. And that's mostly later in the afternoon on Saturday, continuing into Christmas Eve night. And then that will move on out and bring us another shot of some high pressure that will be building into the region on Sunday. Then we watch a warm front. This is part of a big push of warm air that's going to be pushing in. Of course, when this does arrive, this is going to set us up with some rainfall. So we're already looking at some sprinkles. And again, this is about Monday in the afternoon here. There comes that system. And you can see a little bit of a break in the action on Tuesday. And then early Monday night. And then that cold front moves on in and lowers the temperature with temperatures cold enough to snow and a lot of lake effect streamers to follow. And that's followed late middle part of next week with another ridge of higher pressure. You may notice the precipitation out west is a little bit heavier now in parts of the Sierra Nevada. And this is where much of the action is going to be. Secondarily to that, we're looking at about a half-inch line of precipitation for a total of 7 days, and just a quarter here in parts of southern Vermont, driest off to the south. Temperature regime, this is the maximum temperatures for the next 5 days, running somewhere close to 6, maybe 3 to 6 degrees. And what about 3 days later? Looks like it warms up just a little bit. We'll be on the warm side of 6 degrees. Above normal for this time. This is valid 3 days later. Looking at the GFS ensemble out of centered on Burlington, this is our dry weather we're experiencing today. Then we get into a little bit of this business here with some minor snow shower activity, less than 0.2 of an inch, no great deals. A break in the action, a little bit more, and so forth. You can start to see just a little bit of rain thrown here, and this is the one we're watching way out next Tuesday, just beyond our period, roughly here. And this one is loaded for bear, but it may be just only a frontal system with a very narrow band and not a whole lot of precipitation, but temperatures will warm up. Let's take a look at that. GFS ensemble looks a lot like the European model, where we kind of average out with temperatures a little bit above 32 degrees. This is centered on Burlington. And then it looks like the comes a bit unhooked. You can see all these various plumes here kind of separating. That's a good idea as to where model conditions are not as accurate. So what we're looking at is a pretty big warm-up here in the European around the 27th, where temperatures could even hit, even off this chart, 50 degrees. In terms of snow depth right now, we're looking at the most, of course, across the mountainous west, secondary north of the Canadian, in Canada, parts of the Great Lakes. Also in places like Newfoundland and New Brunswick. And then back a little bit into parts of Maine, and a little bit less as we get into Vermont and points west. And between now and December 25th, Christmas morning. This is a total accumulated snowfall by the European model. You can see pretty healthy amounts, even in Southern California mountains, San Bernardino Range, Mount San Gorgonio, Mount San Jacinto, up in the Sierra Nevada, extending across the Great Basin. The west is pretty active. Certainly the Cascades, British Columbia Mountains, the coastal ranges, up into the east of the Okanagan Valley, into the areas around the Canadian Northern Rockies. And then kind of a stretch here right along the border, and then a little bit in the vicinity of Lake Huron, where there's going to be plenty of lake effect snow. And then that sort of carries east. And you note Vermont being here a little bit better than 2 inches accrued total snowfall. Well, we're going to lose some of that each afternoon. Looks like a little bit better conditions in eastern Maine and toward New Brunswick and those locations as you head into the Canadian Maritimes. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.